What if I told you that 90% of your daily anxiety, your hesitations, your second guessing, all stems from one simple problem? A problem you've been carrying since your childhood that's literally preventing you from living the life you actually want. It's the very reason why you'll never, and I mean never, be truly free unless you fix the one relationship problem that's holding you back. And no, it's not with your partner or your boss. It's with literally everyone. Because whether you realize it or not, you've been trapped in the exhausting cycle of seeking approval. Since social media took over our lives, we've been living in a constant state of comparison. Everyone's watching, commenting, judging. And somewhere along the way, we lost ourselves. And if you're honest with yourself, you feel it too. Every year you say the same thing. I'm going to be more authentic this year, for real. Except you weren't. Not in 2023, not in 2024, and you won't be in 2025 either, unless you realize this one thing. All problems are interpersonal relationship problems, and your biggest problem is how much you care about what others think of you. I know you've been trying, or at least you think you have. Maybe you tried being yourself at that party but went right back to people-pleasing when someone raised an eyebrow. Or you set unclear goals like, I want to be more authentic. More authentic than what? A plastic plant? You've been faking it since middle school. Trying isn't enough. If you're faking your authenticity, you're not failing because life is unfair. Even though, yeah, it is. You're failing because you're waiting for people to accept you before you accept yourself. But they won't. You're the one who's got to accept yourself first. And to do that, you'll need to start where it matters most, your relationships. You're probably used to saying, I care too much what others think. That's funny because you had time to edit that Instagram caption 12 times yesterday. You had time to rehearse what you'd say in that meeting so you'd sound smart. You had time to lie awake at night, replaying that awkward interaction from 3 years ago that nobody else remembers. Did you see it? You don't just care what others think. You're obsessed with it. Here's someone who knows this struggle all too well. Let's call him Tom. Smart dude, good job, decent life. But he's miserable. Why? Because he's living his life for everyone but himself. One day he met a philosopher at a quiet cafe. After hearing Tom complain about how his past defines him and how other people's expectations are crushing him, the philosopher looked at him and said, Your problem isn't your past. Your problem isn't even your present circumstances. Your problem is that you've given away the keys to your own happiness. Tom frowned. What do you mean? You believe you're defined by how others see you. You think your worth comes from their approval. But tell me this, if everyone suddenly approved of you tomorrow, would you finally be happy? Tom opened his mouth, then hesitated. I don't know, maybe. And what happens the day after when someone inevitably disapproves again? Back to square one? For the first time, Tom saw it clearly. He'd spent his entire life chasing approval, as if other people were keeping a record of his worth as a human being. Now, look, I'm not just telling you stories here. This concept is rooted in the Adlerian psychology. Adler believed that human beings are not determined by our past experiences or our biology. Instead, we're motivated by our goals, specifically our social goals of belonging and contribution. But here's where most of us get it wrong. We think the way to belong is to please others, to conform, to seek approval. Adler argued the opposite. True belonging doesn't come from molding yourself to fit others' expectations. It comes from having the courage to be your most authentic self and finding the people who appreciate that authentic self. So now you're probably thinking, great philosophy lesson, but how do I actually apply this to my life? Fair question. Let me give you 3 practical ways to start breaking free from the approval trap. First, start noticing your approval-seeking behaviors. We can't change what we don't notice. Pay attention to those moments when you're about to make a decision. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to or because I'm seeking approval? Just creating that awareness will start to shift your behavior. For example, next time you're about to post something on social media, pause for a second. Are you posting this because it genuinely means something to you, or are you fishing for likes? There's no wrong answer. Just be honest with yourself. Second, practice micro moments of authenticity. You don't have to overhaul your entire personality overnight. Start small. Express a genuine opinion in a low-stakes situation. Wear something that feels truly like you rather than what's trendy. Say no to an invitation when you'd rather stay home. These small moments build what I like to call the courage muscle. And you'll start to notice something interesting. Most people respect authenticity more than they respect people-pleasing. And third, surround yourself with truth-tellers. One of the best ways to break free from seeking approval is to have people in your life who love you for who you actually are, not for who you pretend to be. Find friends who call you out when you're being inauthentic, people who don't need you to perform or impress them. These relationships are gold because they give you a safe space to practice being your real self. The thing is that practicing authenticity takes work because we're constantly bombarded with external opinions. It's a skill you build over time, especially in today's connected world. We live in an era where everyone has an opinion about everything. Your outfit? There's a comment for that. Your career choice? There's judgment for that. Your relationship status? Oh, there are definitely opinions about that. So why are you letting all these random opinions dictate your life instead of using your own brain to decide what makes you happy? Other people's opinions aren't the problem here. You are. Their thoughts are just thoughts, but if you treat them like facts, they'll treat your life like fiction. So what's next? You could just nod along, agree with everything I'm saying, and then go right back to seeking approval like nothing happened. Or you could actually commit to breaking free. Hit that subscribe button, not because I need your approval, but because you need the reminder to keep doing the work. Awareness is just awareness, but it's still pretty useless without action. Which brings us to my next point, the courage part. Saying, I don't care what others think is cute, but are you actually living that way? Are you making decisions based on your values, expressing your true thoughts, or are you just hoping people won't notice you're still seeking approval like it's oxygen? The same goes for your career, your relationships, your lifestyle, everything. Freedom is basically useless without courage. Courage is what makes you speak up when everyone else is silent. It's the uncomfortable feeling of being disliked and surviving anyway. It's the boundaries, the unpopular opinions, the authentic choices. It's what separates the people who are free from the people who talk about being free. Most of what will make you free is not comfortable. It's scary. It's risky. It's saying no to people who expect you to say yes. It's standing by your values when it would be easier to cave. It's being honest when a lie would make everyone happier. Being authentic isn't supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to feel necessary. And the sooner you stop expecting every interaction to be comfortable, the sooner you'll start experiencing freedom. Authenticity doesn't have to be the burn all bridges kind. There's a difference between strategic authenticity and just being a jerk. We are living in the most socially connected era of all time. There's no excuse for not finding your people. You want to be weird? There are communities for that. You want to pursue an unconventional career? There are mentors for that. You want to express an unpopular opinion, change your style, or break social norms? There are supporters for that. You're not trapped because there's a lack of acceptance. You're trapped because you're seeking it from the wrong people. Talking about authenticity isn't the same as actually being authentic. You might be watching this video and nodding along, but are you actually dropping the mask? Stop being a boring passive consumer of freedom content and start being an active participant in your own liberation. People avoid true authenticity because of this one particular idea, harmony. You've been sold this idea that you can please everyone perfectly, family, friends, colleagues, strangers on the internet. Actually, it's not just difficult, it's impossible. If you want freedom badly enough, you have to let some approval slide. That doesn't mean pushing everyone away, but it does mean prioritizing your own truth like your sanity depends on it, because it kind of does. You're not going to achieve freedom by squeezing authenticity into the acceptable parts of your personality. It needs to be your whole existence, not a weekend hobby. And in order to be able to do that, you need to answer one big question. Am I really being me? Because it's easy to say you're authentic, but are you really? Or are you just performing? There's a difference between moments of authenticity and a truly authentic life. One might give you a brief sense of relief, but that's it. And the other transforms everything. Be honest with yourself. If you are not as free as you want to be, is it because the world is against you? Or is it because you are still begging for its approval? Are you trapped because life is unfair? Or is it unfair that you've trapped yourself? You can't half commit to freedom and then expect to feel fully free. I'm not saying this as someone perfect, because I'm not, but I can confidently say I'm the freest version of myself that I've ever been. And a big part of that is because I stopped waiting for permission to be me and started giving it to myself. If I could do that, what's the reason you can't? I mean, I'm pretty sure you and I are not so different. Look, I'm not going to wrap this up by saying something cheesy and generic like, you can do this, because you might not. That's up to you. But what I can say is that if you decide to fix this problem, like really fix it, 2025 can be the year you stop saying, I'll be more authentic next year for real, and start saying, I'm already free. The world isn't going to free you. It's full of expectations and judgments, and that sucks. But you're stronger than you think. You're braver than you know. You're more resilient than you believe. You can free yourself, and maybe that'll make your whole life feel more like yours. Remember Tom from our story? 6 months after that quiet cafe conversation, his life looked almost the same. Same job, same apartment, same social circle. But something fundamental had changed. The constant anxiety, the people-pleasing, the exhaustion, it had diminished significantly. Not because his circumstances changed, but because he stopped giving away his energy to other people's opinions. The truth is that breaking free from approval-seeking is one of the hardest psychological shifts you can make. Our brains are literally wired for social acceptance. It was a survival mechanism for thousands of years. But we don't live in tribal times anymore. The stakes of social disapproval aren't life or death, and the payoff for authenticity is a life actually worth living. So I'll leave you with this question. A year from now, do you want to be free? Or do you want to still be trapped in the prison of other people's opinions? Because the key to that prison cell has always been in your pocket. You just need the courage to use it.